third quarter of 2024 with the polity section. Now we have the constitutional morality. The recent arrest of a serving chief minister puts the spotlight on the question of constitutional morality. About constitutional morality, constitutional morality means following constitutional principles within a democratic system. The term was first coined by British historian George Grote. In India, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar used constitutional morality in his Constituent Assembly speech on the draft constitution. The term constitutional morality is not explicitly mentioned in the Indian Constitution. Constitutional morality in Indian Constitution is deeply embedded in several of its sections like preamble, fundamental rights, directive principles, fundamental duties, checks and balances, etc. Now, judgments upholding the constitutional morality. Keshwanand Bharti versus State of Kerala 1973. This case introduced the basic structure doctrine limiting Parliament's power to amend the constitution and protecting its core principles. It upheld the spirit of the constitution. SP Gupta case 1982. The Supreme Court declared a constitutional breach as a serious violation of constitutional morality. Manoj Narula versus Union of India 2014. The Supreme Court defined constitutional morality as adhering to constitutional norms and avoiding actions that violate the rule of law are arbitrary. Naz Foundation versus Government of NCT, Delhi, 2009, the court emphasized that constitutional morality should prevail over societal perception of morality, upholding individual right. Indian Young Lawyer Association versus State of Kerala, Sabrimala case, 2018, the apex court emphasized that constitutional morality includes principles of justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, which outweighs the religious customs restricting women's entry. Article 341 of the Indian Constitution, the Supreme Court ruled that states cannot modify the scheduled caste list published under Article 314 of the Constitution. About Article 341, it empowers the president to designate certain groups in castes and races or tribes as scheduled caste for various states and union territories. This designation is made after consulting with the governor of the concerned state and is then publicly notified. Now, Parliament has the power to add or remove groups from the notified presidential list through legislative enactments. Article 311 of the Indian Constitution. The Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor invoked Article 311 of the Constitution to terminate the services of six government employees. About Article 311 of the Indian Constitution. Article 311 provides procedures and safeguards for dismissing, removing, and demoting a government employee. This article aims to protect against arbitrary actions and uphold natural justice. The article states that no government employee can be dismissed, removed, or reduced in rank except after an inquiry in which they have been informed of the charges against them and given a reasonable opportunity to defend themselves. It also states that no government employee, either an all India service or state government, shall be dismissed or removed by an authority subordinate to that which he or she was appointed. By which grounds for dismissal. Performance and conduct is a ground for dismissal. Unsatisfactory performance or behavior affecting government efficiency, serious misconduct, involvement in corruption, bribery, fraud, or moral offences. Exemptions to Article 311, security of a state. If an employee's action threatens state security, the president or governor can act without an inquiry. Efficiency in public service. The president or governor can skip the inquiry if it's necessary for security or efficiency of public service. Probationary employees can be dismissed without an inquiry. Judicial review. Decisions made under Article 311 can be reviewed by courts, which may provide remedies like reinstatement or back wages. Now, Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. There has been a lack of consensus between the ruling coalition and the opposition regarding the choice of Deputy Speaker for Lok Sabha. Constitutional provisions on Deputy Speaker, Article 93 and 178 lays down the provision for election of Deputy Speaker for Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly, respectively. However, no specific timeline is provided for these elections. Now, election and removal of Deputy Speaker. Rule 8 of the Lok Sabha rule states that Speaker sets the date for this Deputy Speaker's election. The Deputy Speaker is elected by a simple majority of members present and voting, generally serves the full term. Now, vacancy and removal. Article 94. The Deputy Speaker vacates the office if they are no longer a member of the House. The Deputy Speaker can resign by submitting a resignation to the Speaker. They can also be removed by a resolution passed by an effective majority, that is, the majority of more than 50% of the total membership of the House, post removing vacancies in the Lok Sabha. Now, powers and responsibilities of a Deputy Speaker. Acting as Speaker. When the Speaker's position is vacant or the Speaker is absent, the Deputy Speaker performs all the duties and exercises the power of a Speaker while presiding over the House. The Deputy Speaker has the same authority as the Speaker and no appeal lies against his rulings. Independence. Now, the Deputy Speaker is independent of the Speaker and is accountable directly to the House. Now, oath of MPs under the Indian Constitution. The newly elected members of Lok Sabha must take oath as provided in the Constitution before the Lok Sabha begins its legislative work. According to Article 99, every member of either of the House of Parliament, before taking his seat, make and subscribe before the President or some person appointed in that behalf by him an oath or affirmation according to the form set out for the purpose in third schedule. Article 104 specifies a financial penalty of rupees 500 if a person participates or votes in the proceedings of the House without taking the oath. MPs can then take their oath or affirmations in English or any of the 22 languages specified in the Constitution. The Constitution specifies that if an MP does not attend Parliament for 60 days, their seat can be declared vacant. Court have used this ground to allow MP in jails to take an oath in the Parliament. The third schedule of the Indian Constitution contains forms of oath and affirmations of the various constitutional posts such as Union Minister of India, Judges of Supreme Court, Judges of High Court, Comptroller and Auditor General, etc. Third schedule deals with Article 75, Clause 4, Article 99, Article 122, 124, Clause 6, 164, Clause 3, 188, 219 of the Indian Constitution. Now, SC upholds states' taxation power on mineral rights. The Supreme Court of India has recently revisited an important issue on the taxation of mineral rights, reversing its 1989 ruling, reaffirming the state's authority in this matter. Now, key highlights of the 2004 Supreme Court judgment. The Supreme Court, in an 8-1 ruling, held that the power of the state legislature to tax mining land is not restricted by Parliament's Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act, MMDR Act of 1957. The Supreme Court ruling clarified that the Parliament does not have the authority to tax mineral rights under entry 50 of the list 2 of the Constitution, which pertains to state power and only allows for imposing restrictions, not taxes. While Parliament can set limits on how the state how states tax mineral rights, it cannot impose taxes directly to ensure that mineral development is not hindered. Also, the term land in entry 49 of the list 2 includes mineral bearing lands, granting states the competence to tax such lands. Court overruled its 1989 judgment and held that royalty is not within the nature of a tax and did not come under MMDRA. Now, Cabinet Committee. The Union Government recently constituted 8 Cabinet Committees. About Cabinet Committees, the Cabinet Committee is set up to reduce Cabinet's workload and assist in decision making on specific issues. The Cabinet Committees are extra constitutional and not mentioned in the Constitution. These are constituted under the Government of India Transaction of Business Rules 1961. Cabinet Committees are of 2 types, that is standing, which is permanent, and ad hoc, which is temporary. We have Cabinet Committees on Appointment, Political Affair, Accommodation, Cabinet Committee on Security, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, Cabinet Committee on Investment and Growth, Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, Cabinet Committee on Skill Employment and Livelihood. Now, the Prime Minister sets up cabinet committee and assigns specific functions to them. There is a total of 8 cabinet committees which are listed as below. We have already read that. Currently, all committees are usually led by Prime Minister except the Cabinet Committee on Accommodation and Parliamentary Affairs. Now, Cabinet Secretary, the Government of India has appointed T.V. Somnathan as the new Cabinet Secretary, succeeding Rajiv Gauba. The office of the Cabinet Secretary was created in 1950. The Cabinet Secretary is a top ranking civil servant in the Government of India and serves as an ex officio chairman of the Civil Services Board and the Cabinet Secretariat. Appointed by the appointment committees of the Cabinet based on seniority and merit. The Cabinet Secretary is appointed for a 2-year term and ranks 11th in India's order of precedence. He or she reports directly to the Prime Minister. This term can be extended up to 4 years with an extra 3-month extension if needed, as per the amended All India Services Death cum Retirement Benefits Rule 1958. Now, verification of EVM burnt memory. 11 candidates from the 2024 General and State Assembly elections have requested the verification of burnt memory in the EVMs and VVPAT units. Verification of burnt memory in EVMs. In April 2024, the Supreme Court allowed losing candidates to request verification of the burnt memory in EVM and VVPAT machines. Candidate finishing second or third can request the verification of microcontroller memory in 5% of the EVMs, including the control unit, ballot unit, VVPAT per assembly segment or Lok Sabha segment to check for tampering. Candidates must identify the EVM to be verified by polling stations or serial number and can be present during the process. Request for verification must be submitted within 7 days of the result declaration. Candidates bear the verification cost, but expenses are refunded if tampering is found. Now, Delimitation Commission. In Kishore Chandra Changlal Rathore case, the Supreme Court ruled that constitutional courts can review Delimitation Commission order if they are arbitrary or violate constitutional values. The Gujarat High Court has previously dismissed the petition citing Article 239A, which limits court involvement in electoral matters. Now, about delimitation. Delimitation is the act or process of fixing or limits or boundaries of territorial constituencies in a country to reflect the changes in population. In India, the task of delimitation is assigned to a high powered body called the Delimitation Commission or Boundary Commission. Now, constitutional provisions regarding delimitation. Article 82, Lok Sabha, it mandates the Parliament to enact a Delimitation Act and constitute Delimitation Commission after every census. Article 170 for state legislative assemblies, it provides for division of territorial constituencies of states by Delimitation Commission after every census. Now, about Delimitation Commission. The Delimitation Commission is a high-level committee responsible for defining and reviving the boundaries of various constituencies for state assembly and Lok Sabha elections. It is appointed by the President and operates in coordination with the Election Commission. Now, historical timeline for Delimitation Commissions. The first Delimitation Commission, based on the census of 1951 data, headed by Justice N. Chandrasekhar Iyer, fixed the Lok Sabha seats at 494. Third Delimitation Commission, based on 1971 census, headed by Justice J.L. Kapoor, increased the seats of Lok Sabha from 522 to 543 and assembly seats from 3,771 to 3,997. 42nd Amendment Act 1976 froze any further delimitation of constituencies for elections to Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies until 2021 Census of India. This was to encourage population control measures of state. So first is in 1953, then we have in 1963, which was the second Delimitation Commission based on 1961 census, increased the Lok Sabha seats from 494 to 522. Then finally in 2002, there was no delimitation exercise after 1981 and 1991 census. Fourth Delimitation Commission was based on the 2001 census data headed by Justice Kuldeep Singh. There was only readjustment of boundaries and no increase in seats of the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. 84th Amendment 2002 froze any increase in seat till 2026. Now, the Delimitation Commission is a high level committee responsible for defining and revising the boundaries of various constituencies for state assembly and Lok Sabha elections. It is appointed by the president and operates in coordination with the election commission. The commission consists of a retired or working Supreme Court judge who is also the chairperson, election commissioner, concerned state election commissioners. The commission orders have the force of law and cannot be called into question before any court. However, in Kushori Chandra Changlal Rathod case, the Supreme Court ruled that constitutional courts can review delimitation commission orders if they are unfair or breach constitutional principles. The commission's order are presented before Lok Sabha and the respective legislative assemblies, but no modification can be made to these orders. Now, 23rd Law Commission, the Union government has and notified the constitution of 23rd Law Commission. The 23rd Law Commission was established on September 2nd, 2024 and will serve until August 31st, 2027. Now, about Law Commission of India, it is a non-statutory body set up by Union Ministry of Law and Justice through a government notification. The purpose is to assess the government under the terms of reference by reviewing existing laws, recommending outdated laws for appeal, suggesting reforms. Its recommendations are not binding. Now, the structure of the Law Commission, there is a chairperson, usually a retired Supreme Court or High Court judge, four full-time members, including a member secretary, that can be a judge or legal experts. Up to five part-time members, Secretary of Legal Affairs and Legislative Departments as ex officio members. Appointment, chairperson and members are appointed by Appointments Committee of the Cabinet led by Prime Minister. The function is to review laws to keep them relevant and effective, recommends removing outdated laws, proposes review to match modern needs, and suggests new laws for emerging legal and social issues, including those aligned with directive principles of state policy. Assesses the impact of socio-economic laws after implementation. Now, Niti Aayog's reconstitution. The government reconstituted the Niti Aayog, expanding the number of special invitees from 5 to 11. About the National Institution for Transforming India, Aayog, it is a non-constitutional and non-statutory body as it was established by Cabinet Resolution on 1st of January 2015. It was constituted to replace the Planning Commission established in 1950. It is the Government of India's premier policy think tank to provide directional and policy guidelines. It promotes cooperative federalism by bringing states together for national interest. Now, the composition of Niti Aayog, there is a chairperson who is the Prime Minister, there is a vice chairperson who is appointed by the Prime Minister, ex officio membership up to 4 members from the Union Council of Ministers nominated by Prime Minister. Part-time members, maximum 2 from leading research institution on a rotational basis. Chief Executive Officer appointed by the Prime Minister for a fixed tenure with rank of Secretary to the Government of India. Special invitees, experts and specialists with domain knowledge nominated by Prime Minister. Governing Council composed of PM and Chief Minister of all states and Union Territory Legislature, Lieutenant Governor of Union Territories. It also comprises of Vice Chairman, Niti Aayog, full-time member, Niti Aayog is special invite. It is the leading body responsible for developing a unified vision of national priorities and strategies with active participation from states. Now, regional councils addresses regional issues consisting of chief ministers and lieutenant governors chaired by Prime Minister or their nominee. Now, some to the point material. Black coat syndrome. Black coat syndrome refers to anxiety and fear many people feel when they are dealing with the judicial system, especially in courtrooms. The syndrome highlights challenges like long delays, adjournments, high cost, which can discourage people from pursuing legal action. Now, plea bargaining, it is an arrangement between the defense and prosecution in which accused pleads guilty in exchange for a lesser charge or a reduced sentence. It was introduced in 2006 as part of a set of amendments to the CRPC. In section 290 of BNSS, plea bargaining has been made time bound. The application of plea bargaining can be made within 30 days from the date of framing of charges. Now, application, it applies only to offences with maximum punishment of 7 years. This excludes cases involving crimes against women, children, or socio-economic offences. It also applies to private complaints acknowledged by criminal court. Now, foreigners tribunal, these are quasi-judicial bodies established by the central government under the Foreign Tribunal Order of 1964 as per Section 3 of the Foreigners Act of 1946. Initially, only the several central government could set up these tribunals, but a 2019 amendment empowered magistrates in all states and union territories to establish foreigner tribunals. The authority is to determine if a person is staying illegally in India is a foreigner or not. Now, composition, each foreigner tribunal is headed by a member drawn from the judges, advocates, civil services with judicial experience. Now, the power of a civil court to summon witnesses, require document production and examine evidences. Now, right to shelter. It is a fundamental right derived from the right to residence under Article 1E and right to life under Article 21. Relevant court ruling, Olga Telly versus Bombay Municipal Corporation of 1985. The Supreme Court recognized the right to livelihood as a part of right to life under Article 21. Chameli Singh versus State of Uttar Pradesh 1961. Supreme Court declared the right to shelter as a fundamental right under Article 21. The Common Service Centers, it is an initiative by Ministry of Electronics and IT, that is MeitY. CSS have been set up under the Companies Act of 1956. It is a key part of National E-Governance Plans, NEGP, approved by the government in May 2006. CSCs serve as a front-end delivery points for government, private, and social sector services to rural citizens of India in an integrated manner. Services offered are G2C services like Aadhaar, Election Commission services, passport applications, PAN, ITR filing, etc. Financial services like banking, insurance, pensions, among other. Now, CS2 scheme, it was launched in 2015. The objective is establishing at least one common service center in each of the 2.5 lakh gram panchayat across this country. It is an entrepreneurship model focused on service delivery, offering a wide range of services to citizens by efficiently using existing infrastructures like statewide area networks, SWAN, and state service delivery gateways, SSDGs, etc. Now, Sampurta Abhiyan, launched by Niti Aayog, it is a 3-month campaign aimed at achieving a full coverage of 6 key indicators in aspirational districts and 6 key indicators in aspirational blocks. Key indicators of aspirational blocks include percentage of persons screened for diabetes and hypertension, percentage of pregnant women registered for antenatal care within the first trimester, etc. Now, key indicators for aspirational district include the number of soil health cards distributed, percentage of schools with functional electricity at the secondary level, etc. That'll be all for this. We'll be moving on to international relations in the next video. Thank you.